Felix here, and happy Wednesday morning to you. What is this Wednesday morning all about? Well, it could be Student Loan Forgiveness Day, possibly. If you're a SoFi shareholder, you should be glued to that share price. It seems to be flying off the handle on potentially, well, if there is an end to it, if there is forgiveness rather than extension, that's definitely a good thing. If there is more extension, that's definitely a bad thing. So it's a bit of a gamble, that one. Before we get cracking, felixfriends.org/23 is Goldman's top 23 dividend growth stocks. Yes, dividends and growth in one, says Goldman. So check it out. It's completely, utterly, butterly free. So take advantage of it. I make these for you so that you have the inside track. Really, that's what it's all about. Here it is again in its full glory, felixfriends.org/23. Download that. Feel free to ask questions. It's completely free. You don't need to be a member or anything. Just hit the subscribe button and you can get access to the chat here. And you want to see the pre-market? Well, it's sort of bobbing about, minus a bit, plus a bit. No one's quite sure what to do, which way to go. Dollar has come up again a little bit. Lumber and gas prices continue to skyrocket. Even oil is up a little bit. And I prepared a few bits for you. But we will also, of course, have a look at the live market first. Let's have a look at the stocks first, and then we'll look at the topical stuff. The extended hours, Peloton up 15%. I could not tell you why. Why are they up? Yeah, meme stock mania is back. That's probably the best headline for that. No, I really don't know. If somebody does know why Peloton is up 15%, do tell me. SoFi up 8.9%. I would suspect on the hope that Biden puts a line under the extensions, but don't bet on it. On the negative flip side, Chinese equities suffering a little here. NIO down 0.7%. We've got some sales numbers out from NIO, which are worth looking at, and I'll cover that in a second here. But overall, the market is, well, moderately greenish, I would say. Not a big move either way, but moderately positive. And then if I can move this over, there we go. There we go. A couple of things I wanted to cover before we get cracking properly here. So US financial conditions are improving, which is the exact opposite of what the Fed wishes to achieve, and therefore isn't really good news. The more this improves, the more work the Fed's got cut out for itself. And crikey, that tea's hot. And the more the Fed is going to do on the weekend. Of course, none of the following is financial advice. That might not be smart about it and so on. Take it as an input and opinion and come to your own conclusions. That's why I also always I like to show you all the original sources and facts so you know what I'm talking about here. So we're at minus 0.23 for our financial conditions, which is a little bit tight, but not very tight. It's more like a pair of trousers that has shrunk a touch rather than what the Fed would really like, which would be, somewhere down here in the minus 0.1, minus 1 rather. So that's a problem for the Fed, and a lot of speculation of what Jay Powell is going to say. How harsh is he going to be? He isn't going to commit to any specific number. I think that much we know about him already. So he isn't going to say it's definitely going to be 0.75 or 0.05 or something like that. But what we do know is that at the last meeting, 9 out of the 12 Fed presidents voted for that 0.75% hike, and 2 wanted a 1% hike. So that's something to think about, isn't it? 1% hike, crikey. So are they doing their job? Well, they are hiking kind of as quickly as anybody has ever hiked. If you go look back here the last 30 years or so, but inflation is still running away with it. So, are they going to have to do a lot more? Well, they certainly are slumping the US housing markets. And new US home sales have plummeted again to the lowest pace since 2016. And that's on relatively tight inventory. So prices are staying relatively high. Just transaction numbers are falling off here. And then this is really, I think, the macro chart that everybody should be talking about, and nobody really is. Seems no one's paying real attention here. These are electricity prices. Now, if you're in the US, you haven't really noticed it yet because your electricity prices have gone up something like 15%. If you're in Japan, it's about 20%. If you're in the euro area, it's something like 30%. You will have noticed that if you're in the UK, it's about 50%. UK, the only European nation, well, if you don't mind me calling you a European nation, a non-continental European nation that's actually stopped importing Russian oil. 50% up, but the underlying cost increase is not 30%, 40%, 50%. It's about 14x. That's the underlying increase. So that's a lot more. And of course, governments are kind of like bailing out the deficit here between cost of electricity and what they think the consumer and industry are able to absorb. So expect these numbers to go up a heck of a lot more, and therefore expect recessions. Now, for you NEO shareholders out there, well, we have delivery numbers out. This is 1 August to the 21st. Sorry, not delivery, sales. Excuse for that slip there. 6,140 cars sold apparently in the first 3 weeks of August, which isn't great, is it? I mean, let's be honest about it. It really isn't great. Xpeng slightly worse. Li Auto basically selling none at all, practically. And why is that? Well, I suppose lockdowns and all of that are still an issue. China is also experiencing energy shortages, and there are areas in China where both Tesla and NIO have shut down their charging infrastructure, at least partially, and are encouraging people to like charge at night. We need autonomous driving so that this can all happen at night, right? Wouldn't that be the smart thing to do, to charge all of the cars at off-peak hours? So none of that, of course, is going to be buoying EV sales. But yeah, so not a wonderful number. I'd like to see that, you know, at least 5,000 or 10,000 higher, but it isn't. So student loans, I see, it's good that I write notes. I would have forgotten. Biden today apparently announcing something. Do we know what it is? No, there is speculation that it might be extended. There's speculation there might be forgiveness of $20,000 or $30,000. If that's the case, apparently most of that will go to those who have the highest incomes and all of that. So lots of politics around that, but we don't quite know where it's going to go. So hedge funds have doubled down on tech stocks of late, which is positive. They are doubling down on the big Microsoft, Amazon, Nvidia, Apple, Atlassian, Tesla, and cutting leverage and basically shifting back towards growth, which makes sense. You'd expect them to be a little bit ahead of the curve. You'd expect them to be a little bit ahead of the recession numbers here. Going back to the energy price situation, 20 million Americans, apparently 1 in 6 US homes, are in arrears on their utility bills. So that's a bit of an issue, isn't it? You expecting bailouts, checks to fly for that? I am. I think that'll be the next bailout that's coming. I think we're all going to get used to just being permanently bailed out. So yeah, there we are. Felix, Island of Tea Drinkers is the official title, indeed. Rather large mug it is as well. Taekwon Lee, welcome to the options course. A huge welcome to you. Make sure you make the most of our Discord community, ask us questions, and do lots and lots of paper trading. Taekwon Lee, don't wait till you've done it all. Start paper trading now. That's the best way to do it. Lost in K, great move indeed. I agree with you. To join Taekwon Lee and our marvelous options community, there's only one thing for it. That's go to felixschweitzer.options, take advantage of that juicy coupon there. Expires on the 31st of the month. It's only available for August. Build wealth, and that's what we do. We're building some serious wealth here. We're up. How much are we up by? 100 and something percent. Let me pull it up. How much are we up by? I've been a little distracted this week, I must say. I haven't really done any trading yet, but that's the beauty sometimes. You have a busy week. You just don't do anything, and there's no requirement to be in the market all the time. We're up 118%. And that's also because on Thursday and Friday, I'm pretty much not in front of my screen and so on. So I haven't done anything. And it's wonderful. It's calm. It's relaxed. Nothing in the portfolio. If I want to start, I could do it today or tomorrow. So you literally can, I've got students. I've got a coaching student who lives on a boat somewhere in the Caribbean. And when he's, sailing from A to B, well, he closes all positions. And when he's back somewhere with Wi-Fi, he starts trading again. It's a fantastic way to spend your life. I think What do I expect from NEO in September? Well, it's not looking too wonderful, is it really? This, by the way, is the QQQ here pre-market. That's sort of a shoddy-looking orangey kind of bit is the pre-market. This is where it starts. So moderately positive now, 0.4%. If you look at NEO, well, the problem is with growth stocks, so you need proof, right? You need proof that they are going to deliver what they say they're going to deliver. And until they do that, people disbelieve, and it makes sense to disbelieve. That's sort of rational. At the moment, we're definitely heading down again here. Yesterday was another pretty red day on pretty big volume. PE ratios down here. That was from another video I was doing. So yeah, at the moment, this looks like a falling knife. There's really no way around it, I'm afraid. Where's the 30-day moving average line? Okay, we fell through that as well. So yeah, this doesn't look good. There isn't really anything to kind of stop us. Even the fib retracements decided to not. No, yeah, there is some support. Where's the last? No, even below the fib. So literally the next support would be $16.50 or $16, something like that. Where we are at the moment is essentially the low here from 10th of June. So it's not really a very pretty picture, I must say, unfortunately. So, and given that a lot of Chinese stocks are selling off this morning, this is not really looking wonderful. Now, they do report earnings at some point in September. I don't know if the 27th is correct, but it'll be some point in September. But again, they're not going to be wonderful because you've seen the delivery numbers. So there isn't going to be a huge surprise. Very unlikely that there'll be a margin surprise, as a positive margin surprise, because costs have gone up, but they did report today that they are intending to gradually replace all outside battery suppliers and build them all internally. So I think they're doing the right thing in the long run. It's just, the market's very much more interested in the short term. Melissa, can't believe the 3% is sustainable in the long run. Melissa, there's only one way you're ever going to find out, really, is you start doing a paper trading account. You don't risk a thing, and that way you test it for yourself. You can see what we've done this year so far, and now I reinvest my profits into stocks. And why do I do that? Slightly counterintuitive, because of course I'd make a lot more money if I just kept ballooning the options portfolio. The reason is that if I own Microsoft shares, there are about 150,000 employees diligently working somewhere without me doing anything ever. So if I ever want to completely switch off and join one of my coaching students in the Bahamas, actually there's another one who's buying a boat too, and he's also sailing that way to the Bahamas. So if I want to meet the congregation of options coaching students I have, and not worry about any investment, any trading, anything at all ever, then having a massive stock portfolio is a good way to go there. And that's what it is for me. For me, this is a steroid injection for my stock portfolio that's legal and without side effects. So there we go. Check it out. Why is it a big day for SoFi? Biden, debt relief. Today is the day. Have I said enough? Have I said it all? I think so. Don't know if there's anything yet out. No, we're still waiting for it. There is a press conference at 3 p.m. at the White House, but I don't know what that's all about. But so far, we haven't got any headlines out yet on what exactly it's going to be. But we are promised that it'll be today, but we don't know when or what they're going to say. But SoFi, being originally a student loan business, this is obviously an important part of that business. So if the moratorium is extended, it'll suck. If the moratorium is ended and there is some sort of relief, SoFi is going to get a massive boost of refinancing. Because what's happening is that everybody is just waiting and not refinancing. Because why would you refinance debt that you might be forgiven for? So if it's going to go away, why refinance it? So you just wait. And that's basically why the whole industry has just come to a standstill. Government intervention at its best. Short strangle looks good on NEO. All right, just make sure it's nice and wide, or maybe make it a bearish vertical. Robert, good morning to you. Andrea, good morning to you. Appreciate you tuning in. What about Tesla? Well, what about Tesla? When is that bleeding stock split coming that everyone's always excited about? I don't know why people get excited about stock splits. It's one of the most idiotic things to come out of COVID. Unfortunately, Tesla is, going up quite nicely against the trend this morning, 0.58% up. That's sort of peevishly green looking, light green bit here is the pre-market. It kicked off here at 4 a.m. Looking quite positive, really. One massive volume trade here. What was that? 28,000 shares. Crikey, it looks like one big trade. US 10-year is spiking indeed. People are worried about what's going to be said on Friday. If there's loan forgiveness and an extension, yeah, I don't think they're going to. I think politicians are pretty transparent, but I think they're going to extend it until at least the end of the year if they do, not just until like 1 week after we get re-elected. That would be even a little too obvious for that lot. Any thoughts on the Tesla stock split? Yes, nonsense, basically. Yeah, these are sales numbers, very different. You can have an order book of sales that's old, and it takes you 3 to 6 months to deliver the car, something in that timeline. So very different to delivery numbers. There's no no immediate correlation. There's a long-term correlation. Robert thinks he's going to forgive 10K for people earning less than 125K. In other countries, they would call that vote buying, don't you think? But yes, possibly. But if they end the extension, the never-ending extensions, then that would be a good thing. Yes, they're probably going to bail out I would say next is your electricity bill. I think that's the next one that's getting bailed out because that needs bailing out. Friday or Saturday, you're talking about the Fed? It's actually Friday. I thought normally he speaks on Saturdays at these events, but this year it's a Friday. Take One Lu, you're very kind. He says, before buying the course, I was very concerned if this course is legit, but doing all the lectures one by one, it seems very legit by now. On top, there's 90-day money-back guarantee. So try it. Indeed, go and try it. Join Take One Lu and our 2,500 students out there. Felix.org/options, coupons down below this in the description as well. Build wealth. That coupon is because it'll quite seriously improve wealth building. In other countries, you don't have student loans. Yes, okay, Italy, Andrea, yes. The beautiful country of learning, you don't have it. Krasimir says, hit the like button. Thank you very much. How many hours a week do you have to invest for options trading? It depends, obviously, on how much you want to do. I'd say at a minimum 2. I'd say at a maximum, there's no maximum, but 3 or 4 hours would be plenty. You'll also get quicker at it. So the more paper trading you do, the quicker you get at spotting good trades. I usually do probably 3 hours or so, 4 hours, but I do them mostly on live stream. So I explain each trade. So it probably takes 2 or 3 times as long as if I did it without the explanations. But I want to share what I'm doing so you can learn from it, and also for transparency. Robert wants Biden to pay for his TD Ameritrade fees. Yes, I think that's a reasonable request for a bailout. Robert, bailout for options trading fees. What are you paying now? 50 cents a contract. I think that's a hardship on us traders. Stefan is going to get his French tin. Okay, brilliant. Come and join us. Stefan, quite honestly, you can start learning and practicing, because before you start trading, you're going to want to seriously do a lot of paper trading, so you really get comfortable with it. So you don't really need to have a funded account for that. What about this news that SoFi selling, says Unta? Well, Japanese, what's that Japanese fund? SoftBank, that's the ones. They've been selling lots of SoFi, but that's sort of neither here nor there really. And that's the bad news. But the good news is that potentially, Biden will draw a line under this student loan moratorium and instead forgive some of it, which would be very good news. Why? Once the moratorium is over, people will start to refinance their loans again. Why? Because people want to pay the lowest interest possible. But no one in their right mind is going to refinance something that they might not have to pay anything for. And if they refinance it, they might actually not be forgiven. So the student loan refinancing market is at zero, essentially. So nothing's been announced. Tux the Penguin, that's a great name. But there is this, well, Biden is essentially announcing something today regarding student loans. And obviously the market is expecting it to be forgiveness rather than another extension. And if that moratorium is gone, it'll be good news. Stefan, Interactive Brokers requires a tax number. Quite possibly true, yes. IBKR fees are also not great, but they're also not bad, like 65 cents. It's not too bad. Especially for Canadians, that's the best choice. For Europeans, it's either that or Tastyworks. Exactly. Stefan, I hope to go back to trading longer duration options because, well, it's just, you do less for the same, essentially. I suspect it really depends to some extent on the VIX, but the VIX doesn't necessarily represent quite as much the madness that we have in the market at the moment. And we would, look at where we were at the beginning of the year. We were coming out of sort of VIX or last year, we were at VIX in the sort of 18s to like low 20s. At the moment, we're back at 24, but we've come up down from 35 or so. But within that are these kind of mad reactions. If Microsoft falls 2% in a day, something is amiss. And we therefore, by trading much shorter expirations, have a higher probability on our trades, and we make more money. So it's all about probabilities over large profits. Lots of small trades with our very high probabilities, what gets you there. And as I say, you may join us. Two ways to do that. You may book a call with us. Go to felixfriends.org/coaching to join the coaching community, which is a small band of ardent traders who all have one mission to really, largely replace their income or supplement their income so that they can do whatever they wish to do with their time. Buy boats, sail to the Caribbean, that sort of madness, Robert. And secondly, you can of course simply join the Master Options program here, which is the other way of doing that. My cat says she's very excited about it. Where is she? Here we go. You don't get to see this one very often. This one's Tiger Lily. What are you doing on my desk? What are you doing on my desk? Oh, you're pressing all the buttons. How incredibly useful. She just has maximized all the windows, and I don't know how to undo that. So there we go. The cats are in charge. We know that much by now. Dan thinks the VIX seems to be lagging. Yes, I'm kind of with you on that. I don't think the VIX is really all that representative of the madness in the market. No, there is the Nasdaq volatility, which is still a cat in front of my screen, which is at 30. But it does, it's all relative, isn't it? It does go up to higher levels typically, but that's kind of probably a little bit more realistic in terms of at least the tech stock sector. We are still at relatively elevated levels. And if you go back a little bit more in time, a couple of years, you see the average used to be around sort of 18 pre-COVID, and we're still at 30. So we're still at very, very elevated levels. Now, that's of course also a good thing because it just makes options premiums higher, which means, we get more money when we sell options. So there's always two sides to each story. PBR. What's PBR? Petróleo Brasileiro. My Portuguese is non-existent. Windows Shift in M. Thank you very much. How did my cat do that with her paws? Windows Shift and M. That would have been quite a maneuver there, but she's still sitting there looking rather smug. VOLQ works better, says Dan. VOLQ. Okay. Well, it only goes back to 2019, but yes, thank you. But it shows significantly elevated levels to pre-COVID, which was about 17. It's almost double of where it used to be. Pabst Blue Ribbon. Okay, you lost me there completely. Sounds like a beer brand. Righty-ho. So where are we this morning? Well, we are moderately in the green for the QQQ. Yeah, 0.04%. It's an exciting morning, isn't it? And let me pull it up for you. It was a little more exciting earlier, but it's not moving a lot. Basically, the market is looking like this, like a flat line. Not quite. It's looking a bit more ups and down. Essentially, the market is kind of trying to figure out how much is the Fed going to punish us this weekend. And if you look at the bond market, the America's bond market, you can see the 2-year is climbing again this morning to 3.3. The 10-year is climbing 1% to over 3% now. So that's what the Fed wants to hear. So Jay Powell will be sitting there smugly somehow, somewhere, but this is going up. But really, to be in line with Fed expectations, it probably should be at about 3.8%, because that's kind of where they want us to be. But yeah, at the moment, that's definitely looking like it's heading in the right direction. So not good for the stock market in the short term, but it might actually prevent bigger calamities, because the Fed would have to do a lot more if it doesn't keep rising, or if it starts falling again. NEO down a touch, 0.6% on an XPeng as well. XPeng earnings went great. I'm going to do a video on that because I think it's a bit of a canary in the coal mine for NEO as well. And the sales numbers for September looking distinctly unimpressive. So here they are. These are the 1st to the 21st of August sales numbers, 6,140. Now, somebody said to me there was the Ghost Fest, Hungry Ghost Festival was about a week ago, and that's true. That is a bit of a thing. People tend to start buying afterwards as we head into a Golden Week. So there is a little bit of a seasonal slowdown there, but it's still not great, 6,140. All we care about is orange juice and mullen. Indeed, that's the most important thing. I'm thinking of starting a channel just called Orange Juice and Mullen. What do you think? Are you going to subscribe? Jesus Christ is worried about Nvidia. Let's have a look. Nvidia. What about Nvidia? They did their earnings were last night, weren't they? I haven't read them yet, I must admit. Or are they tonight? Oh, they're tonight. Okay, earnings are tonight. Sorry, I thought they were last night. Which just makes sense why I haven't read them yet. So, but yeah, I don't really see much happening here with Nvidia. Robert, you're quite right. Andrea is crushing it in paper trading. Just stick to it. Essentially, stick to exactly what you're doing. You're doing the right thing. Earnings tonight, indeed. Nvidia earnings tonight. That's quite a big one. That's obviously Nvidia, one of the big tech ones, one of the last reporters of that lot. So it'll be interesting to see what they come out with, especially in terms of demand. If they're seeing any reduction in demand, because that's what a lot of the chip guys have been saying, is that they're seeing demand softening. So it'd be very interesting to see what happens there as a bit of an indicator for where the economy is heading as well. Now, the most important thing that you haven't done yet is hit the subscribe button and the like button, both at the same time. You can do it. You can bring yourself to do it. It really isn't all that difficult. Bloomberg is telling us, what are they telling us? Anything we need to know? Oh, yeah, the European Central Bank might increase their rates again. Well, quite likely, in fact, which is an odd one, because they have a failing economy, essentially, and at the same time, they're going to raise rates, but they haven't really got much choice if they want to do something about inflation. So that's really the worst position to be in. If you haven't already, there it is. Felix /23. This is Goldman's top 23 dividend growth stocks. Download them. They're free. It's a free benchmark. I make it for you. Goldman's data. Goldman stocks, my data. So check it out. Some interesting stocks on here. Intel, for example, which is likely to be affected by Nvidia's numbers out today. Morgan Stanley on there. Couple of other interesting companies. So check it out. It's always good to know more data, essentially. Data also here, our options portfolio is up 118%. A lot of our students are making very, very nice returns, like Andrea and Robert here in the chat, for example. I share all of my trades with you guys live so that you can see what I'm doing. We've got 2 portfolios. We've got one for the coaching community and one for the master options community. Obviously, the coaching portfolio one's bigger. It's sort of a bonus, essentially. And yeah, so I do live trade every week. I haven't done it yet this week because it was a bit of a mad start to the week. And then secondly, I am out mostly on Thursday and Friday, which isn't really super ideal. So plus Friday is going to be a big mover, 10 a.m., right? Fed speech. So I haven't done anything yet. Kathy Woods bought and sold a lot of Nvidia. Not sure why. Well, I don't think anybody ever knows what's going on over there, to be honest with you. How long would it take to finish the options course? Well, that's a good question. It depends a little bit on how quickly you do it. Well, the beauty is that it's pre-recorded, so you can do it in your own time. You have access to it for life. Amalia, I've seen people do it in about 2 weeks and then paper trade for a while, get comfortable, and then start real trading. And I've seen people take a couple of months. It really depends on how much time you have available and how kind of committed you are to it. But a couple of weeks, I'd say minimum, to kind of get to grips with it all. Taekwon asking in German, can you offset the course fee against your taxation? In a lot of countries, yes. Certainly a lot of my American students ask us for receipts for tax purposes. I don't know about German tax laws, to be honest with you. It's sort of Fortbildung, isn't it? So I suspect you ask a tax advisor and certainly try. Do I think, oh, there's a nice conspiracy theory. Do you think the EU energy crisis is wanted? I don't think so, because German industry is quite powerful and this is hurting them, right? I don't think they would really like this. I do think a lot of the European construct is essentially one large conspiracy theory, but I think on this front, I don't think they saw this coming. That's my view on it, and they didn't plan for it. Andrea, you're quite right. I'd highly recommend you watch the old live trading sessions. There are loads of them. And because you get to see how I do it, how the system really works, how the strategy works in reality, and what makes a good trade and a bad trade and so on. And then you can also go back to my sheet and see how those trades turned out. So yeah, you're making the most of it, Andrea. I appreciate that. And it's always the students that really make the most of it, that get the biggest profits fastest. It's very simple in life, really. Effort with the right strategy, effort equals results. So check it out, felixfranz.org/options. Here it is on the screen. So pre-market looking pretty flattish, not a lot of movement there. If you look at the QQQ, say we're at 0. If you look at the S&P 500, SPX, minus 0.22% pre-market, not a lot going on here this morning. The market's sort of like, we don't quite know what to do with ourselves. We're going to wait till Friday to see what happens. What's happening with SoFi? Today is the day when the United States president is going to announce something to do with student loans. That's pretty much what's confirmed. I don't think they've put out anything yet. Student loan. Let's have a look in the news. I don't think. I know there's speculation. What we know and what we don't. Well, exactly. Expected to offer some relief, but the question is really whether there'll be an extension or not. I suspect there'll be some forgiveness. The man wants to buy some votes, so he's very likely to chuck some money at people. It's not his money, is it? But yeah, we don't really know the details, unfortunately, yet. But when we do, I'll let you know. BBBY, it's a crazy, mad Reddit stocks. Stay the heck away from it, Unta. It really isn't worth it. It's complete gambling. It's a bit like the AMC and the new ape stocks, which is a completely bizarre thing. You know what happened with that? They basically are not permitted to issue any more AMC shares, right? Because you need shareholder approval. They're at their limit. So they do, however, have permission to issue preferred shares. So they've issued preferred shares under the ticker APE. APE, and in theory, they could then convert them. So at the moment, they're trading at a discount to AMC. It's a really bizarre story. I mean, really, it's totally baffling stuff. But I put AMC on here and APE. Crikey, APE. And where did APE go? Okay, it's that mad line there. They're trading at different stock prices. So anyway, the point being, APE's trading at $7, AMC trading at 950. So because A trades at a discount, the suspected move is that they've now given these away for free to everybody, basically who's a shareholder, and they can issue some more. It's as many as like, not quite, but they can issue quite a lot of them. They can then go back to all the AMC shareholders who now all own some APE shares at a lower price and say, why don't we convert the APE shares into AMC shares, and at the same time you lift the limit that we have on printing new shares, and then the AMC lot might just agree with it. So it's just another move to like get in some more cash, basically. Petros, the options course is interactive brokers. So I do most of my trading on Thinkorswim. It's essentially all brokers are the same. So the strategy in theory doesn't really differ. We do have quite a few lessons out on how to use interactive brokers. So if you want some help with that, we're definitely here to help you with that. We also have channels on our Discord dedicated to each of the brokerage platforms out there, because I appreciate that's really important and often one of the biggest hurdles. Honestly, the broker is like learning to drive a car. Once you know it, you stop thinking about it. But yeah, just to show you here. Hello, can I? So we've got channels here for Thinkorswim, for IBKR, which is the active brokers, also for Tastyworks. We've got a big community on all of these. And we will help you. We'll answer all your questions every day with that. So it really doesn't matter which brokerage you use, to be honest with you. Tech Only, yeah, I think that's the best strategy. Paper trading on IBKR because they have it, and then real trading on Tastyworks is a little bit cheaper, especially if you're doing larger trades. So yeah, Andrea agrees absolutely. Your son just told you that his student loan was just sold to a company that won't work with him on repayment schedule. I suggest that you contact SoFi this evening. Yeah, and I suspect maybe wait out today's news on forgiveness as well, and then sure. But people are only going to start doing this again once they have certainty from the US government, right, on forgiveness. And Martin, you're completely right, but still, it would be a very nice boost for them if it were to come back, right? Right, there we are. So if you've just joined us, well, what's the morning madness? Let me run you through it very, very quickly here. US financial conditions are still easing, and the Fed isn't going to like that. The more they ease, the worse it is. But this morning, the bond yields are increasing on the 2 years and the 10 years. The Fed's going to like that. So that's good news in a sense, but not in the short term for the market, but in the longer term for the market. The Fed is raising rates here. Look at that little red line here. That's the interest rates. It's going up really faster than it has any time since the 1970s, really. So they're doing their bit, but inflation is kind of getting away with them. Housing market, they managed to kind of tank that. The new home sales are now at 2016 lows, but inventory is still pretty tight, and most of it isn't built yet. And therefore, house prices are actually staying pretty strong while the number of transactions falls. And this is really the real economic pain to come. In Europe, household electricity prices are now up 50% year on year. In the US, about 15%. In Europe, about 30%. And in the UK, it's about 50%. But the underlying cost, the energy futures in France, for example, here are up 14 times year on year. So that 14x is not 50%. It's a lot bigger number, right? So that's going to feed through unless the governments bail them out. NIO has got sales numbers out from the Chinese statistics for the first 3 weeks of the month at only 6,140, which is not wonderful. It's not terrible, but it just shows the market is still pretty soft and weak. Now, there is some seasonality to it. There is, Hungry Ghost Festival in August, and then in September, that's a real thing. And then in September, there is Mid-Autumn Festival, which it happens generally is more of a shopping period. Now, if you compare it to Tesla, it's a third of Tesla. Suddenly, it doesn't look quite so bad. But if you look at BYD, well, you're obviously miles off. Obviously, different price points and all of that. And then Biden is expected to forgive some amount of student loans today, to certain number of people under a certain income bracket, whatever that means. But the real question is, will the student loan moratorium end here? In which case there will be a boost to SoFi, and I think that's why the SoFi stock's rallying, or will they extend that once again? Is low PE enough to say if a company is undervalued? No. Terrible companies also have low PEs, so it's a really bad measure. Look at ROIC, look at ROE. Use something like, we have a stock tracker for exactly this purpose, to give you that first snippet here. So you put in your tickers here, you hit the update button, and then, did I hit the update button? There it is. There we go. It loads up the data for you. So look for ROE or ROIC. I look for long-term earnings per share growth. I look for, well, certainly debt over equity levels. How easily can they pay for that debt? I look at free cash flow. And then PE is more like a comparison point going forward or backwards, or comparing it to equivalent companies, their competitors. But I certainly think that earnings per share and ROE numbers and gross margins are much, much more useful than that. So if you want to get your hands on this sheet, just head to felixschwanz.org/Patreon, links down below. It's about 20 cents a day. Join us for the year. You get an extra month off as well. It's not letting me highlight. Why is it not letting me highlight? Conspiracy, he shouts. All right, well, you get the idea. Hamid is bullish, says, Forex guys say risking 1% per trade on 4-hour and 1-day time frames, making 10% RI per month, roughly. How do you do it on options? It's essentially, we've adapted the strategy that Wall Street uses, that banks use. So we're market neutral. We're always hedged. We're diversified, small trades. And that's how we do it. If you want to find out how we do it, check out the program. Links down below, felixschwanz.org/options. Andrea reminds us to also hit the like button. Absolutely, thank you. Margaret, you're not able to refresh that sheet. All right, it's very simple. So all you got to do is you only mess with the blue cells, right? So you put in your tickers here in blue. You put in how many shares you have, what you paid for them. You don't have to, but you can do. And then you just hit this update button. There's a great big button at the top. So change these tickers to, I don't know, AMD and, whatever, Visa, MasterCard, and whatever else you can think of. And you hit the update button, and then it do nothing and just wait. It runs a script. It runs them all through. You can stop it if you want at the top here, or you can just let it do its thing. It'll run like 100 stocks or something like that if you let it. So you can do a benchmark of your portfolio, of competitors and everything else, and then you scroll to the right, and there you find all the data that it's pulled out of. So there we are. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for tuning in. I expect to put out some more videos later today on loans and SoFi, and lots of NEO news out today, actually, which we haven't covered yet. So check it out. If you haven't already, join our lovely community. Make sure you download this at felixschwanz.org/23 before anything else today. felixschwanz.org/23 for Goldman's top 23 dividend stocks. And give us a bell to join our 2,500 students and really understand the best place to start off on your path to intergenerational wealth, true financial freedom. That's our goal. That's our mission. We've got 2,500 students. My mission is to help 100,000 students and their families to get to that financial freedom. So there we go. Thank you very much for tuning in. See you on the next one.